The third line of defense is the specific immunity. It's called specific because it's specific to a particular type of pathogen. It's the third line of defense because it's the slowest one to really get started. But gee, it's so effective because it's so specific. The trigger for the third line of defense is the phagocytes that are consuming anything that's foreign. It's part of that second line of defense. So the phagocytes consume anything it doesn't like, anything that's foreign, and it identifies what the pathogen is, and it sends messages to B cells and T cells to trigger the immune response. So B cells and T cells form the specific immunity, or the third line of defense. B cells produce antibodies. Antibodies are proteins that are made by these B cells that are fit specifically on antigens that are on the surface of the pathogens. So we'll go through those terms again. Here's our little invader. And there's little specific shaped things on the surface called antigens, and they are specific for the particular type of pathogen. Just like a lock fits into a key, the antigens have a specific shape to dock specifically on to these antigens. So the antigens look like this, and they have a specific shape to be able to lock onto the specific shape of the antigen. And imagine when the whole pathogen is covered in these antibodies, it's not going to be able to move very well. And it slows them down, makes them clump together, and starts to destroy them. So these are antibodies. They are specific to a particular type of pathogen. Alright, so B cells produce antibodies. Now, they are helped out by a very helpful cell called a helper T cell. Helper T cells support this process of producing antibodies. Now, interestingly, helper T cells are the type of cell that are damaged and die, or they're affected by the HIV virus. So essentially, somebody who's suffering from HIV, if the helper T cells are damaged or die, then they've got no specific immunity, and that's how the HIV virus affects somebody's health. So the helper T cells, they support the B cells to produce antibodies. Now, we've also got another type of T cell, probably one of my favourite names for any cell in the body. It's called the killer T cell. Now, the killer T cell takes out and kills any body cells that are infected with the pathogen. So any of the body cells that are already infected with the pathogen, well, they get taken out by the killer T cells. Now, there's also another important type of cell that hangs around after they've won the good fight and they've got rid of the pathogen from the body. Well, some of the B cells hang around as memory B cells, and we also have memory T cells. So they hang around in the blood and look for that same pathogen that has invaded the body before. And because these guys are around, it means that the next time there's an invasion, the response is so much quicker because they already know what to do. They already know how to produce those antibodies. They already know how to kill off those body cells that have been invaded by the pathogen. So this is immunity. Immunity is when you've got memory B cells and memory T cells in your body to fight a particular pathogen, so that if you get invaded again with the same pathogen, well, the response is incredibly swift and they neutralize the threat immediately so that you don't get infected. And the immunity you can get from previously being exposed to the pathogen or through another process like vaccination, where they take some of the antigens or a dead version of the pathogen, and they inject that into your body so that your body produces, your B cells produce antibodies and memory B cells and memory T cells, so that if you ever get infected with the pathogen, well, then you've got the immunity. So that's an immunity you can get through vaccinations. Alright, so that's a specific immune response. It's the slowest one to start, but because it's so specific, it's able to take out a threat very, very efficiently.